you've got a whole bunch of people around you, even though you're never alone, you still feel alone all the time because there's no one to share those things with. Yet. Yet. In other words, you're not so original that you're the only person who thinks the way that you think. I promise you. Even, dude, Jeffrey Dahmer, jacked up, right? Weird human being. And yet, that guy still has fans. So, if you ever feel like, I'm so weird, no one's ever... Wait, that guy ate people. No, I just haven't found my people yet. I haven't found my tribe yet. They're out there. They're out there. Whatever it is, like 60 years after they've been married, they're in bed. He gives her the piece, and she starts crying. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "We've been married for 60 years, man. And for 60 years, you've been giving me the crappy piece of bread. You could probably guess how this goes." And he said, "Wait, for 60 years I've been giving you my favorite piece, and you didn't? That's not yours?" Yeah, he thought that he was sacrificing, giving her something really nice. Turns out she hates the end piece of bread. And so where did that come from? Well, it came from a lack of honesty. She didn't tell him that at some point, "I hate this piece of bread." And he wasn't honest with her also by telling her it was his favorite piece of bread. But there's something that's beautiful in there, but let's also call it what it is. There's 60 wasted years of life. Sorry, the years when themselves were wasted, sorry. There's 60 years of hard feelings, even though it's something small, it's a piece of bread. And it could have been a really sweet feeling. And so, yeah, like being honest, that's a huge part of it. Acceptance is the other part of it. Like there have to be some views that you have that you feel like you can't share with people around you. But that tells you something about yourself also, which is that you hold those relationships with those people, even though they're not real, because they're not honest and they're not accepting. We still hold those relationships to be supreme, I guess, to ourselves. Because in other words, we're willing to sacrifice ourselves to hold on to that relationship, rather than being able to be honest and talk about the things that are important to us. And it's a good question, like we don't hear as much anymore, but if I were to ask you, like, how many friends do you have? And you guys probably hear stuff all the time from people. Those aren't your friends. They're just your acquaintances. Those aren't your friends. Those are just the people you hang out with in school, but they're not your real friends. And you'll find out who your real friends are after high school, because those will be the people that you try really hard to make connections with. Because right now you don't have to make any plans to see your friends. You just show up to class and they're sitting next to you. But after high school, you're going to have to call them up. You're going to have to connect with them. You're going to have to arrange your schedules because you're both working. You have these things going on. But that doesn't by the way, that doesn't tell you who your best friends could have been. That just tells you who in your mind you think are the valuable ones, because those are the ones you try to make your time for. But I mean, thinking about, there are all kinds of views that you're going to have. Like, yeah, politics for sure. And that's an explosive one. Your feelings, man. Your sadnesses, your excitements, everything in between. You mentioned the romantic feelings. Even just ideas about the world. Like I think I mentioned before that quote that we had last time. The one about having children is like taking wood to a burning house. That was given to me by one of my students. And the student doesn't want to be identified. Because they asked me, "Are you going to tell everybody who gave it to you?" I said, "No, I'm just going to say a student gave this to me." I said, "Unless you want me to give you credit." And they were like, "No, please don't." And that's because the quote was so dark. That's the kind of stuff that this person is reading. And this person actually is an antinatalist. This person believes that having children is immoral. They don't want to have children. They think that, and not just as a personal decision for themselves, they think that anybody who has children is making an immoral decision by bringing children into the world, because you bring them into a life of suffering and hate. And you might be like, "Wait, so they're judging me?" Yes, 100%. This person is judging you. If you decide to have children, or if you want to have children, this person is judging you. But notice that this person was also afraid of being judged because they didn't want to be identified as the person who brought me that quote. And I ended up asking this person later on, "Do the people around you know that you have that view?" And they were like a couple of my best friends do. You see that move? The people around me don't know, but a couple of my best friends do. I would suggest to you that it's not your best friends who know. It's your friends who know. Because those are the people who accept what you say, and those are the people who are honest about how they feel about it because you've been honest with them. And that's how you can find out who your true friends are. Like I mentioned before, like if a friend of mine had a birthday party and they completely forgot to invite me and I wasn't there, can they have a good time without me being there? Surrounded by other people. Yeah, of course. You know, it might, maybe like halfway through the party, they'll occur to them and go, oh wait, Steven's not here. That's weird. Oh my gosh, I forgot to invite him. Oh, I feel terrible about it. But oh well, back to the party. And maybe afterwards, dude, I'm sorry, I forgot to invite you, whatever. If that person reached out to me, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me because the point of the party was to have a good time. Did you have a good time? Yes. Oh, dope. Then it was good for you. But if one of my friends or a person who I consider to be a close friend of mine was going through something, tragic, something difficult, something dark, and they didn't reach out to me and say, hey bro, I'm going through this right now, or I need somebody around me. If I find out afterwards that they went through some terrible time in their life and they didn't include me in that, that's what would bother me. Because that would tell you that they don't see you as being a close friend, because they only surround themselves with the people who they thought were close to them. Yeah, but what if I don't surround myself with anybody when I'm going through those difficult times? You tell me. What does that tell you? How many close friends do you really think that you have? And it's not that they're not close friends, but you don't see them that way. Otherwise, you would include them. And wouldn't you be disappointed if the people you cared about did not include you? And there are people in your life who want to be there for you. There are some people in your life who maybe want to be there for you too much. I'm thinking of some people I know who just their whole sense of personal worth and identity. I just really want to be needed. I'm sure some of you know teachers like this. Hi, how are you? Are you okay? I notice you're not doing too well. And some of you are like, I like the fact that they notice. Some of you are like, oh God, get away from me, creeper. You study me that much? That's weird. I said before, I'll put out there, if I see that there's something going on with you, I'm not going to pull you aside. I'm not going to be that person. You're like, hi, how are you? Are you okay? Do you need something? No. If you need something, I'm here. Right? Even if you need to use an air fryer. I got a new air fryer today. Yeah, exactly. I haven't even used it yet. It was so cool. I was bringing it in, and the box is over here, and the box says Ninja on it because it's a Ninja brand. And the guys, the kids who hang out over the parking lot, the special needs kids who open. If anybody ever comes through there, no, you might not because it's the teacher parking lot. When I come in the teacher parking lot, they're all the special needs kids over there, and it's so cool because they all have something different wrong with them, And yet somehow they make it work. I'm like, it's so cool. Anyway, there's always someone there who's happy to hold the door open for you when you come in. And I come in, this one kid goes, I won't do the impression. Yeah, I'll do a little bit of it. You have a ninja? Is there in the bar? You go, yeah, there's a ninja inside the box. And he's like, that's cool. And all the kids are like, oh, he has a ninja in the box. And one kid's like, can I see the ninja? I go, if I opened it, you wouldn't see him because he's a ninja. And the kids are all excited. They go, whoa, he has a ninja. Anyway, if you need to use an air fryer, I've got one. I got two. But I'm not going to be that one who kind of goes around and is like, oh, are you okay? Because there are some, it's not because I don't care. And it's not because I don't notice. I notice, but I don't know. My personality type, it would bother me if I had people around me all the time like that. But there are some people who, they want to be there for you. And there are people, again, who get their whole identity from being that person who's there for you. It's more about them. But what is it that brings those relationships together? It's those two things, man. Acceptance and honesty. I think it was in this class, right? We talked about the 36 questions for falling in love. Yeah, and that turns out that's the whole source of all of it. To take 2 hours to completely make yourself vulnerable gradually, and then have that person do the same to you, and then you accept one another. That's what it is. The relationships and the friendships that you feel are closest to you, the most meaningful, are the ones where you feel like you're accepted. I mean, how oftentimes, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure some of you have had this before, where somebody will say, wow, you're such a wonderful person, you're so great, you're so this, you're so that. In your mind, you're thinking like, that's because you don't know me. You only know what I've shown you. You only see certain parts of it. Yeah. And what they've seen, they like, and what they've seen might not be real. It might be a completely false face that you're putting forward. And that's part of the problem, is that so much of our social interactions it's just us like assuring one another that our faces of identity are on straight. The false face that we put forward, but because we all wear masks, of course. But eventually the masks get itchy, they come off, you take them off, and the people you take your mask off in front of and who accept you as you are, and don't run away because you're so ugly, those are the ones who are real friends. And the ones who you choose to show your true face to, those are the ones who are going to be your most meaningful relationships. Friendships, romantic, of course, family members as well. The hard part is that it's a risk, because what if they don't accept us? What if they do? If they don't, you don't have to see them again. What if they do accept you as you are? Then you'll never know, because if you never show anybody who you really are, and yet people like you, you know that they don't really like you. They only like the fake thing that you've put forward. And it kind of creates this schizophrenia in yourself, where you feel like you're always having to perform to be something that you're not in order to be loved. And there's a fear at that point that you'll never be loved for who you are. And you can't ever be loved for who you are unless you take the chance of being yourself. And that, again, it's not just romantic love, it's also love, friendship love, family love, and so forth. And so loneliness doesn't come from not having people around. But as I'm talking to you guys right now, I wonder how many of you have had thoughts like these before, and you've pondered these ideas that I'm talking about right now, and yet you haven't had anybody around you can talk to about these things. And then you talk to, and that's you right there. And your friends want to talk about other things. Like, I wonder how many of you, your friends want to talk about the colleges they're going to be going to, but you're not planning to go to college, so you aren't going to talk about that thing. Or they want to talk about partying, and that's not your thing. Or they want to talk about, I don't know, start filling in the blanks, sports or whatever, and those aren't the things that you want to talk about. And even though you've got a whole bunch of people around you, even though you're never alone, you still feel alone all the time, because there's no one to share those things with. Yet. In other words, you're not so original that you're the only person who thinks the way that you think. I promise you. Even, dude, Jeffrey Dahmer, jacked up, right? Weird human being. And yet, that guy still has fans. So, if you ever feel like, I'm so weird, no one's ever... Wait, that guy ate people. No, I just haven't found my people yet. I haven't found my tribe yet. They're out there. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Thursday.